For this week's presentation, I decided to focus on the mindful integration of interdisciplinary writing in today's classrooms. While most educators agree that interdisciplinary writing is good for academic development of their students, we must be cognizant that the content area and ELA standards are integrated with a balanced approach. Came clear in my research that many schools are asking for teachers to integrate content area subjects like science and social studies with ELA, but especially in elementary school classrooms, teachers are kind of feeling the pressure of Common Core standards and state testing, and are really focusing more on the ELA part of the interdisciplinary studies and struggling with teaching the full content that's necessary. So to this end, I decided to look at a couple of different areas within interdisciplinary writing. I wanted to look at the positive outcomes of interdisciplinary writing, the challenges of implementing interdisciplinary writing, and based on the research, what interdisciplinary teaching is already happening in my classroom. I also wanted to look at specific projects and assessment tools that I could use moving forward in my classroom to integrate interdisciplinary studies. And I have a few final thoughts and kind of a challenge to my peers about helping to implement and integrate writing into our social studies and content curriculum in the 21st century. So first, the positive impacts of interdisciplinary writing. According to Hind, as it was quoted in Hefner, it is the best interest of our students that teachers truly integrate the curriculum so that students become integrated thinkers and do not think of social studies as an add-on to a reading lesson. Truly integrating the curriculum will result in students who are able to access disciplinary knowledge and modes of thinking so that they can effectively participate in democratic society. We're raising our kids not just to be social studies thinkers, but we're raising them to be citizens. And we want them to be aware of what they study in social studies is going to be true in the real world and is going to be interconnected with their life. They're not just studying government, but they're also studying how voting can affect them as an adult and how they can affect voting. In science, we want them to learn that hands-on learning is an integral part of being able to study animals and creatures in the world around us. Research has shown that the positive impacts for our students include that they're actively engaged in the curriculum, they have positive attitudes towards the subject area, they integrate ideas across content and subject areas. They also learn how to collaborate and negotiate and advocate for their ideas within group settings. And that's a very important life skill. Some challenges in implementing interdisciplinary writing are that there's not enough teacher training, there's insufficient resources for the content areas in particular, and that the focus is still on state-tested subject matter. Hefner asserts that the emphasis on integration places the fate of social studies in the hands of educators who researchers hope subvert testing and time constraints to teach higher order discipline-specific thinking. In Hefner's study, she looked at 10 teachers in the southeastern United States, K-5, who were asked to teach a joint social studies ELA class. And what she found was that the majority of the teachers struggled with really giving the content area the rigor that they did to the ELA. They were basically told that they could use the reading materials that were social studies based in their basal readers in order to teach content. And teachers said that they found themselves focusing more on the ELA standards than they did the social studies. Subsequently, when the fifth grade teacher got the students, even though she did integrate the two subject matters, they didn't retain a lot of the social studies from the lower grades because it wasn't meaningful and it wasn't important to them. So while the teachers expressed that they are feeling frustrated with having to teach it all and making sure they're still teaching to the state tests and to the common standards, to make sure that their students are well prepared for those tests, it's important that they realize that true integration of these topics will allow for more meaningful learning. To this end, I looked at my own teaching within my own classroom, and I realized that I'm also giving true interdisciplinary learning kind of the short change right now. I do include STEM projects at least 4 times a year. These tend to be around vacation so I can keep my kids excited about content knowledge, but I'm not really using those STEM projects to assess them in both reading and content area. I am doing differentiated instruction by using news ELA articles and ReadWorks so that they can read about a general topic area, but read a sub-article that's at their reading level and their interest level. I'm also doing science and social studies weekly prompts And last year I did a PBL activity, project-based learning activity at the end of the year that was running a taco truck. I do want to push myself to do more project-based learning, to complete each science and math unit and hopefully one project-based learning activity that can connect the two, and to give students more choice in areas of interest of study. So they're really delving into things that excite them when we're studying food chains and food webs and other science and math terms. I also want to have continuous integration of STEM projects and to really use those projects as an assessment tool, not just a way of keeping students engaged. So I really want to do interdisciplinary project-based learning on a higher level. So to this end, I'm going to have my students build biomes in a bottle, and I'm going to assess them based on their science journals as well as anecdotal evidence during group observations and discussions about their biomes and how the food chain and how the biomes are integrated and all living and non-living organisms are related. In math, we're going to be studying volume and surface area. So I found a really cool project on building a tiny house. And I think that while I can use this project to assess their ability to understand perimeter and area and volume, they can also connect this idea of a tiny house to researching how interior decorators and builders and architects use volume and use surface area and when they're building projects and when they're determining the amounts of supplies they need and really connecting the outside world with the inside classroom. So significant learning takes place when meaningful and lasting classroom experience occurs. That's according to Fink. Um, so I am challenging my peers because I think it's our responsibility as educators to prepare our students for the future. Interdisciplinary project-based teaching allows our students to the best opportunities to be well-rounded, self-directed, and collaborative learners. We must help our districts to create true interdisciplinary units of study that value each subject matter equally. We must help our peers who are uncomfortable with the idea of interdisciplinary learning to not just fall back on, I'm going to teach the ELA and we'll just read about the Civil War, but to really help them understand what an integrated unit looks like and that it is going to be hands-on and that students aren't just going to be reading and highlighting and writing, but they're also going to be immersing themselves in the content area knowledge. In conclusion, Hein, which was quoted in Hefner, states, it is in the best interest of students that teachers truly integrate the curriculum so that students become integrated thinkers. I go back to the slide that asks, that looks at the Common Core standards, and it says that it wants them to be have critical thinking skills, read attentively, and also to be prepared for college and career and life. And that's our job as an educators to make sure that our students are truly prepared for college, career, and their life outside of our school. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.